Good evening, everybody. Just confirming with membership if we have quorum.
How many people do we have online? I'm just trying to log in.
Okay. Who's online? Hold on. I'll log in.
We have quorum. We have quorum.
Thank you, membership.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our last PIAC meeting of the 2024-2025 school year season. We do have quorum. If everybody is able, I'd like to stand so we can do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas, of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Thank you. Also, I'd like to remind everybody that PIAC has a code of conduct, as well as we also follow the TDSB code of conduct. I encourage you to take a look at that code of conduct as we take part in our meeting this evening. As well, this is an opportunity right now for those in the meeting to state any conflict of interest as may be seen on the agenda. Seeing none in the room, do we have any online? Is there anybody online who may want to state a conflict of interest? Okay, hearing none. As well, this is also a moment when we ask about change of membership status. This would mean if there's anything about your status that is not of the eligibility criteria to be a member of PIAC, just to let us know about that so our membership working group can make note if that status changes and the process from there. Have anybody online? Okay, hearing none. As well, we have the approval of our consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Richard. As well as the approval of our May 6 minutes. Those minutes were distributed to the group. At this point, if there's any changes that need to be made, if they could be provided to LATHA, and those changes can be made. Okay, seeing none. Thank you. Moving on to our trustee report. I'd like to, oh, sorry. Do we have a seconder for our minutes?
I'll second. Ward 9.
Thank you. I'd like to actually as well welcome visitors to our room. I do see Trustee Hastings, and of course we do have Trustee DeVitis with us this evening, who is our PIAC liaison, trustee liaison. Trustee DeVitis, if you could go ahead, please.
Did you want me to do the report now?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. My apologies. There's no written report. It will be a verbal report. We've had a lot of meetings over the last few days. I had a finance meeting yesterday. I had this today, tomorrow there's board. The main subject that is taking attention from the board is the budget. There was a report from staff yesterday to with options to balance, and after a significant lengthy conversation, the report was voted down by the committee, 6-3, and was sent over to the board for further deliberation as the minority report. Happy to take questions on this or comments or take feedback from members of PIAC here. But it is a significant challenge for the board at this point because we continue to carry deficits from year to year, and that continues to create pressure for us to have to make reductions to different things that most, I think most parents would support continuing. So we had to have conversations, tough conversations about continuing education and the itinerant music program, pools, one-to-one devices, and a number of other things. And as part of that conversation, there were a number of different options that staff have come up with to try and salvage the programs where possible and to continue to be able to provide the same level of quality education for future students as we have for previous students. It's a tough goal. The background for this, for those of you who haven't followed, is that we do not receive from year to year an increase that is enough to deal with the inflationary pressures that we have. So the increase that we received this year is 1.9%. If some of you are working and you receive a 1.9% increase in your salary, you'd be upset because you know it's a cut. And that's the basis for the conundrum that we find ourselves in. And that year to year, we receive an increase from the Ministry of Education for our operating budget that is insufficient to pay for the same level of the services that we have. Now, we have already carried out about $20 million in reduction savings cuts, whatever you want to call it, this year. But our deficit right now stands at $34.4 million, and we'll continue the conversation tomorrow. With that, I'll leave it for folks. Again, happy to take feedback. I'm not the board. I'm one of the members of the board, but happy to hear from folks if they have any thoughts about this conversation.
Katrina, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for making that very tough call last night. I know that it's a complicated matter, and as trustees, you have to balance a lot of complex contingencies of what your choices mean. And I personally think it was the right choice, but anyway, I just wanted to thank you for having such an extensive dialogue last night and coming to that conclusion.
Appreciate that. I should also add that we currently carry a conversation with a big knife swinging over our heads. That is the fact that the Minister of Education has stated that they may take over the board. They have already taken over one board in the area of London. We are currently under an investigator, whatever that means. We haven't seen the report yet. We've been audited for the last 2 years. For those of you that think there are easy answers around, savings we can just find under the pillows. But what that means is I may not be a school board trustee by the end of this month. And I think we have to understand that on a personal basis, I think that's an affront to democracy that if the minister decides to make that decision. For those of you that don't know this, the school board has a history in the city of Toronto that goes back to 1849. School boards in Toronto are older than Canada. And they've always been elected with, the caveats of what those choices were in the 19th century. Having elected officials to challenge the professional advice of our senior staff and to bring in the opinions of the community and our own personal ethics and values into the conversation is part of what a public education system does and does well. And unfortunately, if we're not able to satisfy the demands of the ministry, again, keeping in mind that they are underfunding us by a significant amount every year, I think the choice that we face is really difficult. So it's not a light choice to say that we're going to not make these reductions. But then again, I didn't get elected to cut the music program. I didn't get elected to close down schools, and I'm not gonna do that. Let them do it if they think those are the things that they need to do in order to balance the budget. I think we need money for special education. I think we need to do a lot better things. And you are in your own schools, you see the deficits. You see, teachers having to pay out of pocket for class materials all the time and things like that, right? So, anyways, I'll leave it at that. Did you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
The Minister of Education, in his one of his statements, he said that the trustees or the Board of Trustees, precisely, are not managing the budget correctly, and
Hi, excuse me. Through the chair. There's it's muted. We can no longer hear online.
Sound test, is this okay
Oh,
for folks
yeah,
now?
yeah,
We
yeah.
can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. I'll continue. I don't know what you missed. I'm hoping it wasn't much. It's getting a great speech.
Best speech ever. Best speech ever.
So in terms of what they think that they can find, we have been audited by the Auditor General of Ontario. They give some recommendations. We've taken them into consideration. We made some changes, but they didn't find, millions of dollars wasted and stuff. You would have seen the headlines. We have basically had to do a series of financial reports basically on a monthly basis now for years because we've been carrying deficits for a long time. And this isn't new. We've been doing this for like 20 years, right? So if they come in and they look at the books, they're not going to find anything different. Everybody's been looking at the numbers. The numbers are public.
in my personal experience as one of the school council members a couple of years back, the principal told me that just to install one video call button at the door, at the main door, it cost them $10,000. Like, I'm in the security business and I do all of that as well, and I know how much it costs.
Mhm.
So I told the principal that it shouldn't have cost you more than $1,500 max, right? But the fact that you pay $10,000 speaks volumes. And this is my biggest concern, where because I know union is a different ball game completely, but all vendors at TDSB have to be unionized, especially the contractors, right?
So you think that there's $9,000 worth of wages to unionized employees, and that's the reason why? Listen,
No.
everybody has a story about waste. In a big institution, we have a $3.5 billion budget. I get it. You will find those things. That's not to say that I, as a child in this school system, I went to the TVSB, received more funding from my parents than we're giving your children. Do you think that's fair? No, right? Okay. When this government started, education was 24% of the budget provincially. It's now 18%. This is a reduction. So Yes, there's waste, less waste than before because we're better and we're more transparent at this stuff, right? But that's not the reason why we can't have enough special education EAs and things like that in the classroom. It's just, we just don't get enough money in the system, okay? So I'm not disputing what you're saying. Principal told you that. I'm sure it's true. But our issue is the operating budget. Capital budget is a different budget, and that's been approved. Yes, we have shortages, but it's not as bad. The main issue is the operating budget. And then you see, there aren't enough teachers, there aren't enough people in our schools anymore, right? There aren't enough caretakers in the high schools, right? And we don't negotiate the contracts. So that's the Minister of Education's responsibility. We just pay the salaries. And then they tell us we have to be more efficient. Okay, but like, that's not something that we can do, right? So I hear you, and we can always try and do better on those things. But at the board level, that's not something we can fix. What we can do is make decisions about what's more important. And closing down pools and shutting down music programs is not something that most of us are in support of. So we're stuck.
So may I recommend that opening the contracts to non-unionized contractors or vendors, I believe it will make a huge impact on the expenses.
So that's not a decision the board can make on its own. That's the first thing, just so it's clear. And remember, there's the operating budget, that's the 1.9%, and the capital budget. So we can open up things for vendors on the capital budget, and we can fix more windows that way, as you say. But that's still not fixing the main issue. The money to keep the pools open is not the same money to fix that camera in the front gate, okay? It's not. And we're not allowed to grab from one side and put it on the other either, right? So they have all these rules and we have to follow the rules, right? And to be honest, we also follow the ministry's direction and how we carry out our vendors and how we accept them and things like that. So again, it's not it's a bit more complicated than that. We can talk offline, but these are the type of things that we can look at, but that wouldn't necessarily solve the immediate problems, right? To be fair, the main issue is your child doesn't get the funding now this year that they were getting 5 years adjusted to inflation. 6 years ago adjusted to inflation now. And that's the main thing, okay?
Thank you very much.
No, thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Trustee DeVitas. Do you have anybody online with a question? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. We kind of skipped because I know Trustee Leticia had to go and has meeting taking place for the trustee board this evening and tomorrow. So for that reason, we pushed a little bit the co-chair update to make a combination. So now we're going to just go in item 3 for co-chair, and then we're going to continue on the agenda. So co-chair update is not going to take long. Go ahead, Zina, if you can start, and then we can move forward.
Sure. So we submitted a sorry about that, a co-chair report. It's in the package, just some information about wrapping up the school year in different ways, supports for parents and caregivers when it comes to mental health and well-being. Just a moment for PIAC, just to take a look. If we were to give ourselves a report card, as it is the season for final report cards, things that we did really well this year, things that we can improve on, the way we communicate, the way we don't communicate, ways that we can look forward to next year, and with some of the challenges that we're going to find, and understanding that we're all human. We are able to express ourselves. Sometimes it's a challenge to do so. We encourage everyone to, of course, remain positive about that, so we can get the work of PIAC done. Sarah, anything to share?
Thank you, Zina. It's already added. I just want to give at least an acknowledgement to all the PIAC ward rep who have done tremendous work. It hasn't been easy on a tight deadline with a lot of the motions taking place, things that you guys have to handle in your ward, but at the same time, also coming in and representing, including our members on online. So truly appreciate for that as both of us as a co-chair. And just to remember, we're all here for the same reason. And that's for making sure parent engagement and also our student success, which is our children. And making sure that we upheld through it. It's not easy, but once we're sitting here, is at least as collectively to make things going. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody and including to my co-chair, Zena, for that, for supporting me, because sometimes I myself is not easy. I can go off through it. We have hands up for Emily online. Or anyone else.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm once again not there in person. It just never seems to work out, but I promise I'll actually see some of your faces eventually. So I just have a couple of comments, and I appreciate that, spirit of, us all being human, and we're all doing our best, we're all volunteers. So there's just like a couple things I'd like to offer just from a relatively new participant in this group. One is we've had a couple of working group meetings where we've really come to the table with a spirit of collaboration and really wanting to bring all voices to the table. And we've been sort of derailed by semantics and, procedural items. So we get to 9 o'clock and we haven't done anything. And I think, as much as, we want to give everybody an opportunity to share and participate, I think we also want to be in a space of respecting other people's time. And that to me has been something that I've just noticed. It's gotten better, but I think we, it's something that as a new member is like very, very frustrating that, when you put your hand up to join something and lead something and really want to, sort of put the negativity of the past behind you and behind the group. And it seems there's barriers to do that. The other thing I just want to offer from an inclusivity perspective is that weekend meetings are really challenging for a lot of people, and myself included. And it's hard to feel, fully engaged with meetings taking place, especially in the north end of the city. For me in particular, I can only speak for myself. I live west. And, I'm not prepared to drive to Yonge and Sheppard noon on a Saturday when I've got, a million other things going on, parenting and otherwise. So I'd really just encourage, when we're thinking about these sort of extra meetings that, especially with regard to consultations where, it sounds like there really is an appetite for broader perspectives and everybody getting involved, that we, really look at the convenience elements. And I think we've shown that most of us seem to be able to accommodate weekday evenings. It's a pretty good turnout tonight, it looks like. And I know in the working group meetings we've had pretty good attendance. So I just would put that for consideration, that meetings taking place on Saturdays they're pretty challenging for those of us especially with those of us with younger kids. We can't leave behind, or don't necessarily want to bring with us. So that's just a couple comments for me, but really appreciate the spirit of what you have both shared.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate it for that comments, and definitely duly noted with the strategic. With that said, you want to add anything? And another thing is just moving forward is it's important for us to attend also working group, because the goal is, if hopefully September comes in, that we end this meeting by 9 o'clock instead of 10. That is some of the challenge of the co-chair and the future co-chair coming in. And that requires PIAC members to attend working group meetings, so that most of the work gets done there and then we present it in here. And also making sure that if there's motion to be handed out on time, so that everybody has opportunity to read. We're all busy, and I get that, even myself, I can attest to that. But we put ourselves here as a PIAC for that reason. And if it's overwhelmed, I've always encouraged to people, if it's too much, then sometimes it's good to just step aside from it. I myself have done it when it was overwhelming. I left the whole TDSP for 5 years, but you have to do what you got to do for your family and first important for yourself. before anything else. But when you're here is to try your best, and that's the best we can ask. But thank you for everybody again for putting their time and coming in. With that said, we're pretty much done. You want to add anything? Or Chair Zeno, before you leave?
No, in case we don't say it before the end of this meeting, hoping everybody has a great end to their school year. Whether it's fun fairs, whether it's graduations, whether it's just taking a breath. So again, I know it sounds like I'm ending the meeting right now, but that's only because I want to make sure that we say it before the end of this meeting. So thank you to everybody, to our community members, to all of our partners that make the work of PIAC happen.
Okay, thank you for that. And since we already did item 4 for trustee report, we can go ahead with item 5, which is ward updates. Yeah. Nazim, Ward 19, introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Jag, Ward 19 PIAC rep. From our ward, I would like to submit our ward outreach event report. So the ward outreach event was conducted on June 11, 2025 at West Hill Collegiate. The event was attended by over 50 plus parents, including school council members and also children. The event was also attended by Ward 19 trustees, Zakir Patel, Superintendent Jason Kandankari, a couple of community safety officers, Devon and Philip, and principals and deputy mayors, secretary. The meeting started with a welcome message by Musa and the land acknowledgement by myself. So we were able to serve food to all the attendees, as well as both parents and children. There were many discussions about the functions of the school council, PIAC, and the events planned for the new year. So there's a lot of expectation from the community about the functioning of PIAC as well as the events that we conduct. So there was a good participation from all the participants and very powerful discussions about the future of TDSB, including usage of technologies like AI. And in the future, we also expect more attendees to join because more than a few members were not able to attend because of end of year celebrations and graduations. But the next year, I think we will be able to get more than 75 participants or 100 participants. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ward 19. Kim, anybody else? Any other ward update? Yeah, go ahead, Musa.
I just wanted to add quickly regarding the ward event was that there is a big issue or concern raised by the parents in regards to the teachers using AI to prepare work for the students. A lot of parents were complaining and they're really concerned about this. So this is a major issue. Superintendent Jason was there. Trustee Patel was also there. So they have been part of the discussion, but this is something to look into it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Musa. Anybody else? We're wrapping up. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Ward 3.
This is not an update for the ward, but just on Musa's point around AI. I attended a ward forum probably about, I guess, 2-3 months ago. And at that ward forum, there was a couple of superintendents and other senior staff, and there was this discussion about AI. And I think a lot of parents in the room and myself found it very concerning. We're having conversations and lots of schools fundraising to support sort of books in the library because a lot of books are getting removed. For some content reason, those kind of pieces. But it appears there's it's the wild west for AI. And in that conversation, when the staff were sort of expressing, they actually were kind of praising some things that were being done. And, putting this tool, which is effectively a black box in front of children, and this was even at the elementary level, I think is quite concerning. And I would hope that both the board and senior staff really reflect on that. We don't know what AI is. And I don't know why we're exposing our children to it when we don't even know as adults what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Musa, for bringing that up. I'm wondering if this is something that we can take back to staff and get some more information as to what AI looks like. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if anything's being formulated or if that's been a discussion at any tables. Not for right now, of course, but I'm not sure if the group would want you to come back in September even as to what the board's doing to respond to just different forms of engagement with AI in the board.
Sounds like a not. Thank you. Okay, item number 6, we're gonna start with the we're done with it, right, for the update. Item 6, working group, we're starting with number 1, strategic planning, working group, co-leads, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, sorry, I'm in transit right now. I hope you can hear me.
Yes. Do you want us, Mercy, do you want us to put you behind a little bit?
Yeah,
And
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So we're just gonna move the strategic working group until the co-leads, and Mercy's gonna come in. We can go straight to school council support working group. Co-leads, if you can introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Gordon Harvey and my co-lead is Eden. Are you online, Eden?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. And as I regretfully missed the last meeting, I'm going to have to let Eden run the presentation if that's okay with you.
Sure. Thank you to everybody who attended our working group meeting. We have sent around a report maybe 2 weeks ago. So I won't go through it in too much detail. The main things I'm just going to talk about are the action items that were on there, which is the senior staff will be meeting with Gordon this week for an update on the principal accountability piece. And then the other piece is the school council grant application process. So we, at the working group meeting, came up with a application and like a Google form application, as well as an email that we drafted, and it was sent out to all PIAC co-reps, co-chairs, as well as PC CEO to distribute to your schools. So the application deadline for the grant is on the 19th, which is the day after tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. And we currently have 11 schools that have applied. So if you have not reached out to your schools, please do, and let them know they have just over 48 hours left to apply for that as well. And then we'll be having a meeting on Saturday morning to, if we need to, do the randomized lottery component to pull the names of the schools to determine who is going to be receiving the funds. I'm hoping that at some point today we'll get an update on the final budget allocation so that we know how much we have to distribute through that process. So I think that's everything I have. Oh, and the other one is also sent around to everybody the letter that I edited to be included in a package that's going to be printed by Latha sometime this month. So Nicole Herbert has very kindly put that together with the what is PIAC piece as well. So that should be going to print this month, and we will have that ready to distribute to councils and parents and caregivers for the fall. That's all we have, unless there's any questions.
Nicole, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank School Council Working Group for the report. I've read it because it was sent early. I have 2 questions. One, I remember an email from Lassa saying the PIAC co-chair will send it to all school councils what we have access to, right? So my first question is, have we sent out to all school councils? Second is, if some school councils come to me in my ward saying they have not heard about it, is that because they have never submitted their own email through PCCEO to our database? I just need to answer them in case they say, how come you didn't send to my school, but the other school is aware? Thank you.
So
Well,
in terms of the working group, I distributed it directly to all ward reps as well as to the co-chairs, which is all I can do. So I was hoping that ward reps will have sent it to their schools. Maybe the co-chairs or PC CEO office can respond to whether or not this has also gone out in any other way.
This is part of a larger problem of communication from PIAC to school councils generally, which is why having some sort of access through school messenger to everybody, it's a system that's automatically updated by the staff to be able to get communication directly out to parents. That's a key thing, and hopefully we'll make some progress on that.
Andrew, go ahead.
And just to add, it actually in Regulation 612 speaks to the ability of PIACs or PICs to connect directly with school councils to convey information. So again, this seems rather challenging, having to sort of work off these Excel sheets and these kind of pieces and require that it's actually the members of the committee that do that work. We are members of a committee of the board. And, I don't think trustees are the ones that are sort of sending emails out for their newsletters and those kind of pieces. There is staff level support for that. We do have some staff level support for this committee. And I hope that senior staff can figure out a process, because it shouldn't be this difficult to try to provide some funding to support parent engagement to school councils.
Thank you, Andrew. I see Katrina. And just to let people in the room know, we actually have a 2-minute clock, just so we know for talking time periods.
We will be, well, in the communications section, we may be, we will be reintroducing the motion about school messenger, but I did just want to add that I have talked to our counterparts in other school boards, and I'm aware that they have a school messenger type program that's for use both internally with their PIAC or PIC members, and also with respect to their school council chairs, so that it's blind for everyone, so everyone's privacy is maintained. So that's not currently contemplated in the motion that we're putting forward, but that could also be another good use of school messenger to ensure that, basically with the click of a button, you can send a broadcast to the school council chairs and be assured that it, goes out.
Thank you, Katrina. Do we have any other questions in the room?
There is a question online that I can respond to, or not a question, rather a comment that somebody said they didn't receive the application. So just to reiterate, the school council working group report was sent out, and it has been sent out again by LATHA, and the application is linked in that report, as well as a link to sign up if you want to join us on Saturday for the meeting. So the application, as well as the email copy, was included in the working group report. It was also sent out by me to all PIAC TDSB email addresses. The other piece that is not school council related, but just as a side note, I also sent an email this week to everybody whose personal email address I was able to pull, asking people to review it and make sure that that's your actual email address that you want. So now we all have each other's email addresses. If you did not receive that email, it's because I don't have your email address and no one else does. So please reach out to the co-chairs and send them your personal email address so you can get added to that listserv. We've just created that sort of manually ourselves, but everybody should have received this to their TDSB email address. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, School Council Working Group. And then Gordon, I think we can go to membership, working group, co-leads.
Emily, do you want to take it?
Sure. I'll let you do the motion part though, because I'm not as versed in that. So we had a couple of meetings of the membership working group. We had 2 this past cycle, primarily with regard to a few different things. One being the moving forward with the appointment process while we kind of get our ducks in a row with the election procedures and moving to a more streamlined election procedure within the wards. Regarding the election procedure itself, we did meet with Matt Latha and Michelle, who were kind enough to take some time to talk us through some of their feedback. And then the next steps on that will be for us to receive their comments in writing, and then we will revisit the proposal, making sure it's aligned with what the PCCO needs from their own operational standpoint and what we are looking for in terms of how we operationalize this new process. And then we had a separate special meeting, sorry, the name of the organization escapes me, I apologize, with a group that was looking to join PIAC as a community representative. So I believe we have, if I'm not mistaken, a motion on this one as well, but Andrew, maybe I'll let you take that one away.
Sure. Andrew Waters, the other co-lead of membership working group. Yes. So the second meeting, there were 2 items discussed. So one was the community groups, and so under our the new bylaws allowing up to 5 community groups to put a representative on PIAC, and the group that actually came and presented to the working group was called Motivate, and there is a description in the report. It's an initiative aimed at the introducing newcomer mothers to the democratic process by engaging them in a nonpartisan public campaign at Ontario's largest school board. Through a series of activities, participants will gain knowledge and tools to participate in a democratic proceedings and become leaders and systematic change makers in their communities. And it speaks to sort of 3 core activities that the group provides: training, community mobilization, and knowledge sharing. And so there was a member came and presented, and then there was a healthy discussion of the working group members who attended, and a vote was held to put a recommendation forward to have this group put a recommendation to PIAC to recommend that they be appointed as a community group. As part of that discussion, looking to the fall to put a call out, because obviously there are 4 additional spots, and looking for other groups and hoping to getting a diverse sort of representation from a series of groups around parent engagement, caregiver engagement, that could provide voice and feedback to the committee. And so hoping this group had come forward at this moment and to let them on the committee, but then in the fall to have a robust process, probably over a month or 2, to try to get the filled up. And the term is for 2 years, and the motion here is to appoint them, to point the group to a 2-year term starting in September. So it'll be sort of aligned with the other groups that would come on board at the same time. And then actually, I'll just speak to the other piece and then I'll take questions. The other piece we talked about was under the new bylaws, having an election process at the first meeting of the year instead of waiting till like November or December. So in September, there will be an election for 1 co-chair, a treasurer, a secretary, and an at-large officer. And as part of that, we needed to seek, consistent with how we ran co-chair elections, sort of returning officers or chief returning officers to support the overseeing and running of the election. And those 2 people would be committed not to run in the election because they helping to conduct the election. And we had Emily and Mercy put themselves forward. So there's also a motion to appoint them as the chief returning officers. And with that, Emily and I can take questions.
Okay, so just to get it clear, you guys are presenting two motions. So first motion, can we at least get that? Motion that?
Sure.
Second and a second, and then we can start with the discussion. So I'm assuming the
So
motion.
I'll motion PIAC appoint Motivate as a PIAC community group for a period of 2 years commencing in September 2025.
I'll second that. Katrina, Ward 10.
Okay, so we have a motion seconded. Okay, now we open for discussion, questions. And please introduce yourself and your ward.
My name is Musa Alu, Ward 19. Question for you, Andrew. Through the chair. This group, you said Motivate, right? Is that a community group or a private organization?
Our understanding when the group attended was that it is a community group. It does receive funding from the government of Canada, specifically a grant around supporting women and gender equality. I think under the definition of a community group, it meets that. Yeah, it's a community group.
We have a question online, and the question is, just give me a second. Isn't there a board process to become a CLG? Is this group already verified by the TDSB? Can someone please ask?
So this is the second meeting in a row where a non-PIAC member who I guess, and I don't even think this person's been invited to this meeting officially, is again attempting to ask questions. So I guess seeking clarity from the chairs whether we are going to follow proper process. And I would ask actually, like, we let it go at the last meeting, or at least I let it go. I would ask that this person be removed from the meeting and can watch the meeting as all other community members are allowed to do so.
Okay. You wanna? Okay, so fair enough with the chair with the questions. Can maybe somebody else, if they want to answer that? If not, then we can move.
So point of order, we have a member, we have someone who is not a member of the committee attending the meeting. And that person is not an invited guest of the chairs. We have a number of members, foreign members who have that. I'm asking that we get to order. So can that person please be removed from the meeting?
Yeah. So just to clarify, thank you. Yeah. Thanks, trustee.
No, I'm just saying I'm online.
Okay. So just to clarify from my end as a co-chair, the question was put in if somebody else, a member, can ask, and no members have put forward. So I leave it. I'm assuming if anybody, members can ask that question, but I want to stand corrected because as this individual is mentioning, it is open to the public, but as Andrew said, it's correct as non-members. So the question was directly, can a members ask? If not, we can move forward to another question. It's not. Okay, fair enough. So next question. Any other discussion in regarding to the Motivate?
Well, Ward 20.
Yeah,
I
go
did,
ahead.
say that I would like to repeat the question. Isn't there a board process to become a CLG? Is the group already verified by the TASB? And and I do believe this is something in which the board does have policies with regards to this and the CLG additions.
Appreciate the question from the member. the CLG process is a process of senior board staff. When we amended the bylaws, we removed the language around the CLGs and made it more aligned with the Regulation 612 and the PICs around community groups and those pieces. So the community group does not need to align with the CLG process of Toronto District School Board staff.
Thank you. Any other questions on the floor, online? Okay, can move for motion forward.
So as per our current process, if we would like a roll call vote, we'd actually need 3 members of PIAC to request that roll call vote. I have 1 member on the floor. Jack?
I have a question.
Oh, question. Sorry, question. Although we've already set it to a vote.
Yeah,
We've set it to a vote. So at this point, either we vote or it's a consensus and it passes. We just need anybody online to request a roll call vote.
I don't see.
Seeing none.
So there's no.
So motion passes based on our current process. So
Next.
second motion?
I don't hear it from you. So go ahead, award membership co-leads to your second motion, please. Yeah.
It was seconded by Geely? Or sorry, by Katrina. Sorry, Katrina. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, second motion.
Thank you. The second motion, PIAC appoint Emily Abrams and Mercy Charles as chief returning officers to oversee PIAC officer elections, bracket 1 co-chair, treasurer, secretary, and at-large officer at the first meeting of PIAC for the school year 2025-2026. So I've moved it.
We need seconder. Oh, yep. Seconder 119. Thank you. Back. Okay, open for discussion. I have a question in case if nobody has it yet, for the co-lead membership. The wording for PIAC bylaw selection for 1 co-chair, treasurer, secretary, are we talking about the new process of the co-chair, or are you talking about the co-chair sitting here? Just for clarification.
So it would be for Zena's term. We overlap. Zena's chair position was to end in the fall. And to be more consistent with Regulation 612, we've moved the election up from November to the first meeting of the year, which is consistent with the Regulation 612, and will probably be operationally more effective to have leadership in place at the beginning of the year than to have it partway through the year.
Okay, so in that case, would that change like all the terms? So even though her ending term will be November, correct? Would it be like a lead to select? Just for that clarification.
So my interpretation of the bylaws as written is Zena's term would end in September with the election of the new co-chair.
Okay, we have a question. Trustee Matthias?
Can you hear me? Just doing a sound check.
Yes, go ahead.
But when I think the membership group, because you've come with a number of different changes over the time when I've been around, and I appreciate you trying to make improvements. So walk me through the logic. So we do the changeover at the board in November. Traditionally, PIAC has done something similar. So what's the benefit of starting in September? I'm sure there's logic to it. I wasn't part of the conversation, so I'm not challenging it. Just want to understand it. If someone can explain that for me, please.
So I think that the situation that's occurred is PIAC predates the Regulation 612 of PICs when they were created, I think in 2010. It does state in the regulation that the election or appointment of the chair or officer positions actually occurs at the first meeting of the year. So that is consistent with the regulations. So where we've kind of sort of deviated a little bit for the last number of years. I think also it's consistent with school councils. It's consistent with most organizations that you would starting, and effectively a school year is a session of this committee, and to have that sort of leadership in place.
So then let me ask, and through the chair. So a lot of school councils won't be in place until the first couple of months because they won't have elections. So in effect, a lot of people won't know that there are elections because they won't have been sort of maybe been privy to the information and all these other things. I always assumed that the reason why we continue to use November was to allow more people greater transparency into the process. So what's the process to ensure that at the first meeting in September, people have an opportunity, a fair opportunity, not the folks that are in the meeting today, for example, to know about the meeting and so on, right? Because you have to understand the optics of it too, from outsiders. The folks that are making the changes are privy to the information and will have greater access than through Ryan and things like that, right? So walk me through that, please.
So one thing I would say is this bylaw is approved, right? So this is the process. So I think there was actually over an hour conversation. There was basically we reviewed the bylaws for almost a year. And then came to a vote at the last meeting. There was at least an hour of discussion in the general meeting around issues related to the bylaws. Lots of questions asked, lots of questions answered. So I would, I don't know how we can have this conversation when the committee has actually already made the decision.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
The chair, the question is really straightforward.
Trustee DeVitas, can I make one
Yeah.
point? Which
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
the election of the co-chairs of PIAC is done by members of PIAC. And so there wouldn't be, I mean.
No, that's fair. And continue, please. But you make a good point. I forget that for a second.
Right. So you could let everybody know in September that this is taking place and it still wouldn't change the voting, right? The next election for PIAC members is sometime probably in October, something like that.
Fair. Fair, and I appreciate that. There's still an obvious advantage to folks that are in PIAC right now, and there may be openings in PIAC over the summer, and so on. But the point made by the executive superintendent remains. I appreciate that feedback to help me understand it, because I want to be able to go back and encourage people to run for the position. Right, that's always an opportunity. So I want to understand how the committee got to the answer. And then the last thing I wanted to ask is why are we making the change on an existing term? And why not let the current term finish? That would have been my instinct. And again, walk me through it so I'd understand. I'm not challenging the logic or the process if folks have had this conversation and there's reasons for it. I just want to understand, why are we shortening an existing member's term? Why not make the decision carry forward after the end of the current term?
So, to ensure that we have continuity, and that we've also established an election process for other officers, and to do that as sort of a group, I think is important. I think the other piece too is the other chair, Sarah, her term was shortened will be shortened because her term started in December due to a series of situations that occurred in the fall where some members were not were quite frankly being obstructionist, and so her term has been
Through the chair.
shortened.
Sorry, point of order. I appreciate how the person that's answering, and it's through the chair, okay? I didn't mean to interject. I don't want to polemicize this, right? You used the term obstructionist referring to a previous co-chair. We don't need to go there. I'm not challenging the decision. I just wanted to understand that we're shortening someone's term. That's not normally what we do with elected positions, right? Normally we wait out the term and then we make the changes for the next term. So if there's a logic that's internal to that decision, outside factors normally are not persuasive to folks that are third parties to this stuff, right? So again, I'm not challenging it, but is there a reason as to why we are, not me, but the members of PIAC are being asked to shorten an existing member's term?
Yeah.
So what I would say is with this transitionary period, but again, and the question is whether staff are going to challenge this or not. I think we hold the election in, hold the election as the bylaws are now written in September, and then we can have 3 co-chairs for 2 additional months, and then then we'll be back on process. So I'm not opposed to that. But there has been extensive concerns raised by staff around changing the bylaws in those kind of places, to such a point where I'm under the understanding that just prior to the meeting, the May meeting that we had where we changed the bylaws, where there was 6 senior staff had a conversation with only 1 co-chair and basically provided advice not to allow that to move forward. So, I personally, having 6 paid staff in the room challenging 1 parent, that feels like bullying to me. So there's been a lot of conversation around these bylaws and these kind of pieces. And I would just hope that the board liaison, trustee and staff just allow parents to, we choose how to organize ourselves and then go forward.
Sorry, through the chair. I'm just going to reframe it just so it's not as polemic, right? I'm not challenging anything that anybody here is saying. I'm curious as to why, and I was asking for it. So the rest of it, through the chair, politely, we don't need to go there about who said what to whom. That shouldn't be part of the logic for it. The logic for it should be, is it fair? Is it good for PIAC and therefore through the kids, right? So I think I got enough for an answer. I don't know if other folks have questions about this or not. I think there's an option. I'm not sure if staff want to chime in on this and give us a sense of whether or not this is on the up and up or not. I don't know that. But thank you, and I appreciate the answers.
Yeah.
Listen, I know some of the stuff gets personal on this stuff. Don't mean to go there. Not challenging anybody's position on it. It just seemed odd to me that we're shortening someone's term. Normally, you purchase into this space. And I'll pass it back to Chair, and thank you for the latitude on this conversation.
So we do have a call order, Katrina, and so on. I just wanted to say, I echo a little bit what Trustee Matias was saying, even in regarding to, if with the school council election, they never start at September. Let's be honest. It usually happens October, November. It takes time, and it's true fair that people should finish their term, hence why many have finished and have been requested extension as from last year and so on. I'm not speaking for myself, but there is, for people who are not aware, and the comment was, is it regarding to parents? That's different. When your kids are leaving TDSP system, you're done, your term finishes earlier. You're automatic out of the co-chair, as you remember previous co-chair. Now, when it comes to the co-chair selection, there is a 2-year term, but then you can also reapply for another 2 years to run. So there's that opportunity, but I know as a co-chair, Zina is not trying to run back again. So it would just be fair for Oh, I didn't even speak that long. Trust me, I did not speak that long. It was less than 3 seconds, 30 seconds. But it's just fair for the individual co-chair to finish the term. But again, we're giving it back to the PIAC members to always get their feedback and elect. And we have hands up on it. So we have Katrina and then followed by Gordon. Go ahead, Katrina.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if he was moving it forward, but I like the idea of having 3 co-chairs for an interim period. I think that's a very elegant solution.
Okay. Thank you. Gordon's away through it. Any other questions? I think it was more about not the previous one. And I also like what Andrew is tested in regarding to re-prep selected need to be, like, you know what I mean? A voting can happen still, but then have a 3 months kind of shadowing process and then giving the opportunity for the co-chair, the term to end. It is also smooth transition and will help out. What do you guys think about that? So kind of see that also working out, but is there any, because there's a motion, do you guys want amendment to that motion with that we stated, or are you guys good ahead to go as how it is right now?
I'm going to defer to Andrew on this one, just without the history. I don't have a strong opinion either way.
I think there's been a robust conversation. There's been a solution offered, a compromise. I don't think we necessarily do need to vote on it, but if the chairs feel they can offer an amendment, but ultimately, this motion is not about the election itself. It's about appointing people to run the election. So
I think that's fantastic. That's great. Yeah. I don't think, is anybody wants a roll call? I think they're fair enough to say that membership is willing to do that work on with the chairs and the quick amendment transition. I think we're good to go. That little change. So thank you. Co-lead Emily and Andrew, thank you very much. Any other questions for the membership? No. Thank you, guys. Communication working group, co-leads.
Oh, that's me. Hello. Okay, we had a very wonderful communications meeting. The main topic to discuss was the website redesign project. And we had a very vibrant discussion about the bids that were submitted, and I believe we're moving forward with one of them. I don't know, Latha, if you have any update on that. Oh, your mic's not on.
So our PCO office is still looking at the having an agreement with the vendor before we confirm it. So
okay,
still it's the
process.
Ongoing.
Okay. Do you think it'll be done by the 30th?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that will be something that we work on through the summer and hopefully should complete by, I forget what we said, November or so. We approved the updated slide deck for the member orientation. Some of the action items involve making sure that in the fall when we come back, we have some coordinated efforts to get PIAC members on their TDSB emails and their ward emails, and to make sure we're all streamlined on Slack or perhaps Teams. We're going to kind of revisit that over the summer, but we want to make sure we're all able to communicate with each other. We are coordinating a sort of handoff of social media accounts and passwords to make sure that, you know, both co-chairs have those details, and we have a streamlined process that follows our best practices. And obviously in the fall, we'll be supporting the school council work group that requires close coordination with, between our working groups. And then the main thing that I wanted to address is regarding the school messenger motion that we had presented and approved in May. I think Jack has some feedback for us on that. Executive Superintendent, if you could let us know.
Madam Chair, I did bring the draft motion forward. And I say draft only because we're not quite clear whether it was the process taken was entirely fulsome. And I understand that it may be coming back. But the response to the motion was that although School Messenger is not available for this type of use, that we would use existing channels available to PIAC to get the word out should it be necessary for the purpose that you had envisioned it. It was an emergency purpose, but I understand that there's talk about just a more regular use of it, and that another motion may be coming, but that is the initial response.
Thank you. Through the chair. So when you say that there are other channels that can be made available, can you please clarify what you had in mind?
So my understanding is that there is a mechanism for us to connect with school councils, and that we would receive your communication and send it out through those methods.
So is that going through the TDSB school council email addresses?
It would be the process that we take now to communicate with school councils.
Right.
So you would send us the communication and we would send it out.
And I understand in conversations with another trustee, Trustee Williams, that there would be an openness to sending out in particular a welcome back message that indicates to parents what they should be expecting as far as their school council at their own child's school. And so in terms of within the first 30 days, there should be an election, and if they need support, they can contact PIAC and, just sort of general support, like a welcome message. Is that something that you would be able to facilitate?
Yeah, that's an example of the type of communication that could be submitted and sent through those channels. Another idea that came up because, of course, of the permissions was that school council could send out a notice to individual parents who that they could sign up for a mailing list themselves,
Right.
so that you can communicate directly to them without any kind of board involvement.
That would be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be,
So that's an option that was presented, that we would communicate out to parents,
okay.
saying every parent is welcome to sign up for a mailing list, and you could communicate directly with them that way.
And so it's your position that that can only go through the, let's say, the TDSB school council email addresses, not through school messenger that go to each family.
So I'd have to get clarification on the direct communication with families, but certainly the school council communication was one that was mentioned as being able to communicate through that channel.
Right. So I just want to emphasize that we definitely have a willingness to conform to whatever processes are appropriate. My concern about using the TDSB school council email addresses is that I don't think most or even all of the parents or the school council chairs use those. I think it's much more common for them to not use those regularly, although that's something I do hope that we can change with some of the tutorials and things that we bring back in September. But nevertheless, what we're seeking is really at a minimum that one message to allow people to opt in. And so I would really like to formalize that somehow. That was the reasoning for bringing forward the motion again, not to, not to dismiss the concerns of staff, but just as a matter of making something on paper that we have a pathway that exists that is clear. And so I'm definitely open to feedback on what, basically we've taken the same motion that we had presented in May. I made a few changes to soften the language a little bit in terms of, the pathway and things like that. So, I'm not sure where to go from here, but we have drafted it again and presented it again. But we are very serious about having something that allows us a pathway.
So we do have question list.
Yeah.
That's gonna start for you, Katrina. We're gonna start with Musa, and I see Trustee Matias also online, just to keep you guys on posted. Musa first, and then Gordon, Trustee Matias. So Musa, go ahead. You wanna?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Musa, go ahead.
Actually, my question was for Mr. Jack Negro.
The question.
So he's just going to get clarification.
Yeah, okay, so can we, Gordon, you wanna go? Is it for staff too? Okay. Trustee Matias, can he, at least he answer maybe? We have Trustee Matias. Trustee Matias, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought I had more time. My question was going to be for the executive superintendent as well, actually. So maybe we can park.
Somebody's
yeah. Maybe we can park the issue or something until he comes back or they're available.
Okay, so you guys can wait for it, but I guess Katrina Coley, do you want to go ahead in? I think for my end, if I can put it in regards to the messaging and emails, you're absolutely right. As other wards and school council, they do not check. And if I remember correctly, and we had this discussion a couple of years ago, it has to get approved and activated by the principal.
Right.
Right? So unless
there's many
principal is
layers
active and they have other important emails,
yeah.
Trust me, school council email is not on their priority list. Just want to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody else, just we're waiting for Jack just to get back to us. He's just getting clarification for the online crew so that they know. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just spoke to Ryan Bird, our communications executive officer, and he was suggesting that we could do this as early as next week to put a notice in TDSB Connects, which goes to all parents. And in that document, invite parents, whatever it is that you want to invite them to, with the link so that parents can sign up. So now it could be as early as next week, but if you want to do it for the next school year, we could look at the next school year as well.
Okay.
And that's sent out through School Messenger.
This connects. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Why don't we go through the question list?
Musa, go ahead. And then we have Katrina.
My question or my comment is to Mr. Negro through the chair. what I recommend is, or I would ideally like to see is the email go as a specific email, like independent email, rather than a newsletter. So it's more visible to parents. That's one. And second, I would like the email to go a couple of times to bring it to the parents' attention, ideally. Honestly, it would be better like if the PIAC would be able to send it directly to all the parents regardless of subscription, because that's what the PIAC represents, and we should be able to communicate to the parents directly.
Thank you, Musa.
Yeah, along those lines, I'm trying to understand how school messenger is entirely appropriate for school councils to communicate with their constituency, and yet is somehow not appropriate for PIAC to be able to directly speak to their constituency, which is all parents in the board. And I'd like staff to talk to Regulation 612 that requires the ability for us to communicate directly with all of our constituents, all of our parents. And it seems that having a message placed in Connects or something doesn't solve our problem, which is regular ongoing communication from the Parent Advisory Committee and seeking the advice from the parents as to what they want brought forward. And that's time. Thanks.
Thank you, Gordon. Although was your question answered at all, or is it more of a comment you were making? Sorry, when you had asked when you were speaking, was your question answered, or did you want a response to that? I want to make sure.
No, I did not get a response.
Okay, from staff, could we get a response? I believe it was a question about how often the email could go out. Is that was part of your question, correct? Okay.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, I just spoke to Katrina about any specifics such as that be put into a motion, and then we would be able to respond to the entire ask.
I apologize. Before we go on to Trustee Matthias, Gordon, was your question answered, or was more of a statement? Just want to make sure that we don't miss anything.
No, I was just asking, I suppose there's somebody at the board or board staff that can speak to the legality of the fact that under regulations, we are supposed to be able to communicate directly with our constituency, the parents that we represent. And school messenger is provided to school councils to be able to do exactly that. I don't understand why school messenger can't be provided to PIAC to do exactly what school messengers do on a school-to-school basis, why we can't do that board-wide within the context of, a reasonable oversight mechanism to ensure that there's, nothing untowards, but we should be able to send messages from PIAC to all the parents. Trustee,
through you, Madam Chair, I certainly that is something that you can take up by way of a motion and get a response to whatever questions you ask within or points you make within that motion.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Superintendent Grow. I have Trustee Matthias.
Thank you. A question is for staff and executive superintendent. If you don't know the answer immediately, that's fine. I understand. I know not necessarily your focus of expertise within the board. But who is able to use a messenger, or what is messenger used for? So, for example, are trustees able to send out a message on school messenger?
Through you, Madam Chair, trustees are not permitted to send out messages via a school messenger.
Thank you. So what messages go through through there. And I'm going to just put in a parenthesis. When I first got elected as the school board trustee, I thought that was the oddest thing in the world that we wouldn't be able to have access with parents directly. Them being the rules. But who is able to have access to this service within the school board? Do you know?
So School Messenger is used for school messages of various types, largely by the school, but Connects is used, TDSB Connects is distributed via School Messenger.
Thanks. And we don't sort of like, I don't know, there's a free after school program down the street, not within the school. We don't normally let folks put in information, right? So non-school board things don't go in here. It's only school board related elements, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so with that, the parent council and PIAC sort of being part of the school board, if they send stuff to our communications team and it's vetted and it's on a sort of cyclical basis, so we're not sending like, a request every 2 weeks or something, or even monthly, like, can we look at considering having some type of welcome message for PIAC, encouraging people to join the parent council and things like that? Can we not take a look at that? Maybe we haven't done it before, but it's not like it's an outside body. It's not like a not-for-profit. It's a school board entity. It would be the same to some degree as PIAC and wanting to send out a message or another one of our standing committees.
Through you, Madam Chair, the initial response to the School Messenger question was, though School Messenger is not available for this purpose, we would find a way to get parents the message through regular channels.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the issue hangs with some other folks here, right? Because we all know that a lot of parents don't use their email and don't get the message. I'm going to say that for me, having several thousand, I think I'm at like 3,000 or 4,000 emails now in locally that I've been able to sort of figure out how to get on my own. That doesn't get me nearly as many contacts as other forms of communication. And I think that's part of the issue, right? Like, how do we get to parents? And then it's an equity issue, right? Because the parents are more likely to open an email, are more likely to be white collar and be in a certain type of environment and so on, where the folks that we would want to get information through on stuff that may have relevance to them as well, but may not necessarily have the, anyways. I think that part is, I don't mean to be sanctimonious, give a speech about this and all this other stuff. I'm just sort of trying to get at, the position of staff and trying to communicate the frustration from some of the folks here, because they know the email system doesn't work. That's been topic of conversation over and over and over ever since I've been at the school board for different reasons. Sometimes it's the user, sometimes it's just the system isn't updated and things like that, right? And so that would be a point of frustration, not being able to have access to communicate widely with folks. So I don't know if you still have any comments on that, but I just want to highlight that that's the point of frustration. The exact response is limited in what it can provide.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think schools recognize that depending on individual school communities, that some methods of communication will work better than others. And I think one strategy is different means of communication in a repeated type of way.
Thank you, and thank you for the response. So I'll pass it back to the chair. Appreciate taking my my questions on this, and I'll hand back and see where this goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Matias. Communication says you guys have a motion?
Okay, what I would suggest, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. Am I able to? For the motion, I can,
Yeah, but you're online already, Katrina?
I'm online, yeah.
Yeah, so Lata or Dahtek, if you can make,
She has access.
you have access,
Okay,
go
give me
ahead.
1 second here. Sorry. I've got too many things open. Okay. Okay. So, okay, I just want to highlight just from the last time we presented, I added, can I highlight here? Okay, I added this line. So it's motion to grant PIAC mediated access. I added the word mediated access to the school messenger communication system following protocols adapted from guidelines previously devised for school councils, comma, however, subject to a clear and timely approval process led by staff. So, sorry, Jack, I can try and zoom in. Yeah. So, anyway, again, being really clear, we're trying to be good partners and stewards of communications. And then what I've added here, what I propose adding just on the basis of this discussion is, we'll follow the protocol outlined in Appendix 1, which is the protocol used by school councils. And then whether by individual email or by TDSB connects on a case-by-case basis. Certainly there are things I can imagine that we would want to share in a newsletter, but also there may be things that we want to go out as an individual email, like the welcome message, for example. So again, we are leaving it in staff's hands to come back to us case by case to make sure that everything is, very appropriate and ultimately handled, through staff. Okay. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, so I make a motion to add that language. Does anyone second that?
Seconded, Musa? Yeah.
Musa, Ward 19, second.
And we already so this is
Recommendation. Okay. 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 So you want me to take out this first part here? Okay. Okay.
It's just repeated on
Yeah, it's the same. But then let me just add that. Yeah, right. I've made a boo-boo and deleted it now. Okay, hold on. Hold on, whether. Okay. Okay.
Someone has his hands up?
I think.
So somebody seconded, so you made this is recommendation, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And Musa, Ward 9 seconded. We've already discussed it.
So can we can just consent? Yes.
Anybody that wants to have a roll call vote? If not, we can go ahead.
Motion, hold on, where is it? Under summary. Okay, I'm just gonna, per the conversation recommendation.
Trustee Matias, is it a legacy hand or you have your hands up? And yes, online, I'm just reading your comments. Apology for a second. Oh, it was a legacy hand. Okay. Okay, so we have this print, so it's more of a comment. Is it the comment that you guys have? Okay, so it's just a comment in regards online here that not correct principal use school messenger to share community updates all the time. So I'm assuming this was from previous discussions and so on, which is, okay. There's no roll call, so it passes, guys, it passes. Thank you, Katrina. Anything else?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for full lead of communication. It's not easy. It's a lot to take in. We're gonna go into item 5, operational effectiveness. Unfortunately, the two co-leads are not here with us today, and we do have a motion, since it's a budget related, to pass on. And the only members that attended the co-lead and operational effectiveness meeting was Andrew Ward 3. And we have asked as a co-chair for Andrew to at least present the motion needs be and the report for operational effectiveness. And also if we can get, Andrew, can you put the budget? If he can be a co-host, that would be great. For members
Sure.
to see the budget. Thank you.
Just going to try to share 1 second.
And for other individuals on the and on the floor here, PIAC members, there hasn't been a printer because it was a last minute, both the budget and reporting. So if you guys shuffling through the papers, there's none.
So there are 2 motions, but I'll first just quickly summarize the report. So there was a discussion at the, oops. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, there we go. Sorry. I'm trying to get to the top. Yeah, so there was a discussion, sort of 2 discussions, a discussion about budget, wanting to make sure that we approve some budget for next year so that we kind of approval to do a couple things and then allow an opportunity for a full budget process to occur involving all members and all working groups. So that was one discussion. And then the other piece was also working on proposing dates for the meetings for next year. So those are the 2 motions. So with that, I will go to the motion. Oops. Yeah, the motion. Operational effectiveness working group motion to approve the 2025-26 proposed budget allocation to begin next school year, and lists off. It does list 5, but the discussion didn't finish for the conference, so we won't go forward with this at that time. So communication costs, ongoing, so $1,500. So that's for like web hosting, MailChimp, Zoom, and other softwares, Vengage as well. Then general meeting expenses, $1,500. That should cover off being able to support in-person meetings for September, October, November. Then strategic planning, $2,000 to support a September, October strategic planning session. And then ward engagement events, $4,000 to support sort of the continuation of the program that we had, ward level engagement. So I will motion that.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Musa. Ward 19.
Musa, Ward 19, I second.
As this is operational involving budget, this will be a roll call vote. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm going to give it.
Andrew, can you show the budget? I have just a few clarification. I know that the outreach amount has been changed. And where is the amount being put on? From 11,000 to 4,000?
So this is to approve budget for next year. So there will likely be approximately a total of $45,000 available in the budget. And so these total amounts total to about $9,000. And so there will be opportunity to increase that ward engagement budget through the formal budget process. But the discussion was that if there are like an opportunity in October, once school councils have formed to hold a ward level engagement, we wanted to ensure that there are funds to do that. And $4,000 would represent 8 wards being able to do that. Based on sort of the uptake we've historically seen, it is unlikely at all 22 wards will try to do that in October, and we would have an opportunity to request additional budget to support the other wards as necessary.
Very good. Fair answer to it. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for that.
So we have, so we have it brought, we have it seconded.
Do we have second?
Yep. So Ward 19. Are there any questions? Because we can open for discussion. I see Musa in the room.
Musalu, Ward 19. Question to Andrew through the chair. What is the basis for ward engagement, $4,000, please?
So again, in the conversation that occurred at that meeting, it was around items that we felt there should be funding in place for like September, October, to allow an opportunity for a full budget process to occur, for full decisions to be made. And so ward engagement was one of those items that was identified. All the other ones that, we've had expenses throughout this year and these kind of pieces, those spendings tend to occur later in the year, like November onward. And that's why these items were identified as putting forward. Another word like to use is like a mini budget, right? Like we're putting forward a mini budget to make sure we have approval and authorization to spend some funds before we do the full budget process.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Very good. Yeah, so we're gonna do roll call because it's a budget related. Let me just open it up. And these are for PIAC members at large who have membership. Okay, we're gonna start by the wards who are here. And if we don't hear, we're gonna go, I'm assuming it's not here. Okay. This is why we've asked for online, just to put in your ward number. It would help us tremendously in case there's a roll call. But we'll just go in by names or ward and then see who's available, who's there or not. Not wards through, so we jump in automatically to Ward 1. You don't have it here. Okay. Ward 3.
Ward 3 in favor, Gordon Harvey.
Individual?
It's just one member.
Okay. Okay. And just for voting, it's just one member for each ward. Ward 4.
Tamasha Grant, Ward 4 in favor.
Thank you. Ward 5. Nobody's here for 4. Ward 6.
Mercy Charles in favor.
Ward 7. Nobody from Ward 7?
Sorry, trying to come off mute. Ward 7 in favor.
Thank you, Holly. Ward 8. No. Ward 9.
Gilly Zemmer in favor.
You, Sarah. Ward 10.
Ward 10 in favor.
Ward 12.
Ward 12, Nicole in favor.
Ward 13. No, she's there. Okay, Ward 14.
In favor.
Okay. Okay, so Ward 16 is not here. Ward 17. Not here. Ward 18. Okay, Ward 19.
119 in favor.
Ward 20.
Ward 20 in favor.
And that's it. Okay. Budget motion pass.
Confirming that motion passes? Motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you to the committee. So the second motion is related to a proposed schedule. Obviously, we did check as much as we could around dates of significance and recognize that staff will do a review as well. So the proposed dates are, and I'm going to read off the general meeting dates, and you can look at the committee as a whole, which is usually the week before. So basically, the operational effectiveness motion is to approve a PIAC committee of the whole and general meeting dates as outlined for the 2025-2026. And the general meeting dates are September 30th, October 21st, November 18th, December 16th, January 27th, March 3rd, April 7th, May 12th, and June 16th. So that's for a total of 9 meetings, which is consistent with the meetings that we had this year. So that is the motion, and I move it.
Okay, who's seconded?
Musalu, Ward 19.
Ward 21.
Oops. 30, who was it online?
Azim, Ward 21.
Azim, was he running?
So can we get clarification? I didn't believe Azim has been reelected, so.
Azim, you were not elected, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then Ward 4, Tamasha Grant, second.
Okay, Ward 4, Tamasha Grant. We don't need any roll call, right? It's operational. Do we need for membership a roll call? I don't think so, because it's for date. Anybody, any question out there? No? Anybody has any objection on the dates? Not? No? Yeah, go ahead, motion.
Motion passes.
Okay. Is that anything else from operational, Andrew? That's it?
No, that's it. That's it at this time. Thank you.
And thank you for Andrew for taking in. And that since the co-leads of Operation Working Group are not here today. So that has been passed. And now we're going to Consultation Working Group.
Thank you, through the chair. This is Nicole, a Ward 12 representative. I'm also the co-lead of consultation. So in June, we don't have a formal motion from consultation working group this time. But I'd like to speak to a few consultation opportunities that was just made aware by the community members to PIAC this past few days. I did send 3 links in the Zoom meeting in the beginning. If you guys someone can help me copy and send to the rest of the member again, that'll help with the rest of the discussion. So firstly, public consultation in Pride Month for members who self-identify as part of the 2S LGBTQ+ community to join a TDSB. I believe this is a TDSB-initiated consultation for the development of equity, anti-hate, and anti-racism strategy, which I spoke about last month. If you can save this link and refresh it, they actually changed, because last month in Asian Heritage Month, we were having a series of, I believe, 5 or 6 sessions of consultations for that topic. So now in Pride Month, they actually have 6 sessions prepared for the community members. Unfortunately, PIAC Consultation Working Group was not made aware until like last few days when we see their 5 sessions were already completed and still 1 left that is only tomorrow at Shepherd Young. I believe this is 50-50. That's the location, and that's tomorrow. So it's, as you can see, it's a little bit too last minute for PIAC members to help to encourage participation. So again, as co-lead of consultation working group, I would like to recommend the board to bring this kind of opportunities to PIAC before the participation deadline, ideally a little bit well in advance, not like we're here talking about tomorrow's consultation. So we can contribute better to this kind of event. I do know staff put a lot of work in this. And personally, from my experience of joining the consultation last month for combating anti-Asian racism, I know personally some staff actually did a lot of work. And I also believe they can benefit from us PIAC members and then the rest of the communities to help increase the awareness and therefore participation for this kind of, because you do want people to join your consultations, correct? And so obviously we need more work and collaboration well ahead of time. So therefore, from our working group, we would like to kindly invite any TDSB staff that I know there's maybe probably more than 1 group who's responsible for different kinds of consultation opportunities coming up. I will invite anyone through senior staff team or PCCEO to come to PIAC public meeting and present all this kind of future consultation opportunities. I believe you guys do work through a planning calendar, so we're not like the last one told, or we were told by PIAC member were told by community members to join. So hopefully we can help a little bit more than that. So if any staff member want to come back to the PIAC public meeting to present, you're more than welcome. But we also want to invite you to present to consultation working groups, so we have a better idea to collaborate with the rest of the working groups. So that's one. And I do believe I keep the policy, TDSB policy consultation in my saving, and I keep refreshing it. I don't think at the moment there's any active policy open. That's why we didn't put a meeting lately. But I believe coming to the new school year, there's going to be some big ones. So we would like to probably, I don't know if Jack, if you have time, we can walk through that, the big ones. I would like to help in a way to synergize the kind of communication, so we know what is coming up, and then we can line up the work among the PIAC member. And hopefully in the new school year, PIAC member can go to your ward and connect with them and hear from them and bring back the consolidated feedback. I think that's what we are supposed to do. And that also link back to the ward engagement opportunities together with your funding. So hopefully all the dots can connect, so we can actually show our contribution and the influence. So I'll let the staff speak to that later. Lastly, but also very importantly, this one is not coming direct internally from TDSB, but we were made aware of the Ministry of Education provincial proposal for amending the Education Act related to school board accountability. So I do have the link there, and I hope everybody reads through the word, which is not too long, but very, I don't know, significant or impactful, or sometimes people say that mind-blowing. I don't know the words. So the proposal includes a few major areas, including school board accountability and transparency in relate to government oversight and potential control of school boards, as well as safety rights with relationship to police, as well as proposed removal of, I quote here, duplicative provisions for consultation related to regulations regarding provincial interest in education. Now that is big. So for any one of us who's actually helping with a consultation opportunity to say that they are trying to remove the duplication of consultation, I hope people do join the limited opportunities of current consultation, given that you are still asked to give feedback, but maybe you're not going to be asked again because if it's seen as duplicative. So I encourage all members to read carefully through the words, and then because due to the significance of this, we need to review them by word or by yourself and for a better discussion. But we, like the last time we had a deadline on the last day of May, we recommend all PIAC rep to comment directly on this site because they will have it on their end and then go from there. So this is about beyond our board, but any comments for our board will come back to their consultation review. So hopefully everyone put your comments in, like all of us. And it's just not just PIAC, anyone from your rep. But if anyone want to bring future consolidated feedback, given the time, we only have end of June, which means we won't have another PIAC public meeting to pass the motion. But anyone who has opinion on any words here, please contribute. Thank you all for your participation. And hopefully together we can make this work meaningful and we see some positive impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Consultative Working Group. Nicole, appreciate it for that. Just to remind you guys, we still have a lot in our agenda and we are really tight on time. So if anybody has very important emergency question to ask our co-lead, this is the time and to expedite it, please. Otherwise, we're going to go into the next working group strategic planning.
I just have one question. Actually, it's for staff. Are we in a P100 consultation period right now? No, not yet. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Strategic working group, co-lead, thank you.
Hi, everyone. So just some updates from the strategic planning working group. So between the months of May and June, we had the strategic planning working group supported 2 in-person meetings, one virtual planning meeting. So on May 10th, we had an orientation day. It was designed to help onboard new members through working group discussions, Google Drive training, and overview of PIAC's roles and responsibilities. On May 15th, we did a planning meeting to focus on logistics, capacity building, planning for June 7th session. We talked about venue options, catering needs, and identified topics to align our work across the working groups. On the June 7th planning session, we talked about progress review and governance capacity building through sessions on Robert's rules, bylaws, and working group updates. This strategy session helped align working group priorities for the fall of 2025, and we had open floor discussions to talk about like new proposals and advocacy topics. Just to provide an update, we were at the last general meeting, we approved a motion to have 3 strategic in-person meetings. So we had 2 meetings so far. So we were planning the last meeting to occur in August 17th. However, we are just trying to confirm if that meeting, if were to occur, if we could still submit it as part of the 2025 school year budget. So just waiting for that confirmation. So that meeting will mostly talk about our plans for the upcoming year and just talking about our PIAC work plan that was developed on January 18th. And just planning our goals for 2025-2026 school year and just working together with the working group co-leads. Yeah, so that's all the update. Oh, we are still looking for a new co-lead for the strategic working plan group. So if anyone's interested, we will have that election on the next meeting, I guess would be in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question for the strategic working group? Okay. And no motions, just the update to it. So thank you again. And we want to give a huge congrats to the strategic working group for great events outside of the general. So kudos and big clap for the team. It's very interesting through it, but it's needed. And we recommend also PIAC new members to truly attend because that's where you will get more information and training, questions answered about what takes place of being part of PIAC and the schedules and so on. So just want to give that shout out to the strategic team. Okay, and now we do have, if we go to the item 7-member motion from Katrina,
Yes.
You can go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. This is a recommendation actually for the Minister of Education and the Minister of Red Tape Reduction. It was brought to my attention that I believe it was Thames Valley School Board, PIAC was not able to meet after their board had been put under supervision because after the trustees were dismissed or locked out or whatever happened to them, no trustee could then populate the meeting of PIAC or PIC. And so that seems like a very concerning problem. If we are in fact potentially facing a supervisory period by the province. And so I just put forward this motion to just add in language that basically allows the minister to delegate the trustees' duties for the purposes of PIC to someone else. And so hopefully we can still meet as a body, even if there is a supervisor. So this, in my mind, would be approved here and then sent to those ministries, hopefully for their serious consideration.
Sounds good. So that's the special membership motion. Is everybody aware of that? And anybody wants to first second it? Oh, a lot of just
Second that motion.
lots of day. Go ahead.
Jack,
Ward 9.
Second. Who was that again? If you can say that for Lathis, so we document.
Rafa, did you get our second?
I'm going to second that motion, Ward 9.
Okay, and we already discussed it, so we pretty much is straightforward. Anybody in roll call?
We officially have to ask if there are 3 members that would like a roll call, although if we don't have any, it means that this passes and we go through the process of what this motion entails. Sending.
No.
Don't see any in the room, don't see any online.
So it's passed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward. It's very important, so thank you for all your work. Okay. All right, so now we're on item 8, and we have auditor's report presentation. Stacy Zucker, Associate Director.
Good evening, everyone. It's Stacy Zucker, Associate Director of Modernization Strategic Resource Alignment. And I'm going to provide, I'm just ensuring that you can see my screen okay.
Yes. Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So just going to provide a really brief presentation outlining the Office of the Auditor General of Ontario's involvement with TDSB and the report that they produce and then what our next steps are. So in February 2023, we were made aware that the Auditor General of Ontario would be performing an audit of TDSB. They did arrive in February and were there for approximately 18 months. The final report, which is linked here, and I'll be happy to share the presentation, but it is on the Auditor General website, and it ended up being a performance audit related to safety, financial management, and capital. It was released in December 2024 as part of the Auditor General's annual report. So the report included recommendations, and then as management, we responded with how we would implement those recommendations, and they were related to the findings of the report. So there were 18 recommendations in total. 15 of those were for TDSB, 2 were actually for the Ministry of Education, and then there was 1 joint recommendation for both TDSB and the ministry. Again, for each recommendation, we did provide responses which described how we would implement the recommendation, or it did identify what would be required in order for us to implement the recommendation. In some cases, the ministry, or sorry, the Auditor General was asking TDSB to go above and beyond the requirements of reporting, for example. And obviously there are resources that are attached to that, whether it's dollars, time, or both. And so we did indicate in certain instances that there would be required to be a regulation change in order for the board to implement those recommendations. So we are in various phases of implementation. Some are fully implemented, and examples include we were asked to ensure that we had a process to monitor fire drills to make sure that they were happening. There's 3 required between September and December, and another 3 that are required between January and June. And so asked to come up with a process to monitor and make sure that those were happening, and that has been implemented. We have implemented an attendance support program for our employees, and we have created and implemented an employee measure or interim measures pending investigation procedure. Those are just examples. There are many other areas that have been implemented. We do have some recommendations that are in process, and those include things like the preparation and implementation of a 5-year capital plan, the joint recommendation about working with the ministry with regards to our structural deficit, and the performance of school safety audits. Those are ongoing. And then, as I mentioned, some do require additional funding in order to support implementation. So if we look at all of the recommendations, many of them have significant financial resources that are attached to them. We have I've listed them here. And you can see that there are, I think, 8 different recommendations which require a significant increase in funding in order for us to be able to implement, and that was indicated through our response to the ministry. And then there are 2 that would require regulatory changes and funding. And those 2, again, we did indicate that to the Auditor General and await direction. So with regards to the report, once we received it, and again, it was quite a long process. So we had already started to implement some of the recommendations before they were even completed their audit. So we have, again, started to implement many of them. There is the Office of the Auditor General doesn't just do the audit and then say, this is what you should do. They come back every 2 years approximately until all of the recommendations have been implemented as we indicated. So we are expecting a follow-up audit, within the next year. And we as staff have a sort of a tracking document where we are looking at each of the recommendations, what's required, where we are with regards to how we're doing. And then we do report regularly to the audit committee. I think our next report will be in September. So again, I think that would be for members of PIAC who are really interested in seeing how the board is doing. That report that goes to audit committee in September, I think will be a really good opportunity to look at a lot more detail. So again, that's a high level presentation given the time, the 10-minute time allotted, and again, happy to answer any questions that I can.
I imagine there's going to be some people want to ask some questions. And again, there's that 2-minute time box so we can keep ourselves moving. We can create a speakers list. I see one in the room, Nicole.
Thank you, through the chair. I want to say thank you to AD Zucker because I've been following a lot of the FBAC meetings. So I really appreciate all your hard work. That's I cannot even imagine. So I just want to link this audit to the other audit we were asking. If you were part of both audits, do you see any big discrepancy in terms of what they are looking for? Or you think there won't be too big a surprise in the most recent PwC audit? I know that one take a long time and one literally just jump in and need to complete in like a month. So what do you see is the difference in terms of what they are looking for? What kind of depths and what kind of things that is a difference? Thank you.
Thank you, and great question. The PwC, who was appointed as the investigators for the province, they completed their audit basically throughout the month of May. And they had a very specific scope. So they were asked to look at certain things by the ministry, and it really did focus on our budget and the viability of our financial position. So they were looking at things like cash flow, for example, how much money do we have? What's our projected cash flow going forward? They were looking at the past 2 years of budget and really what we had proposed, what was passed, and what actually got implemented. So if there were any changes after the fact. And so again, I think really different scopes, and we are still awaiting the results of the investigation right now. But I would say that the two weren't really measuring the same types of things. The Auditor General was more looking at our performance in those 3 areas, and the investigator was more looking at the viability and our ability to get to a balanced budget position.
Thank you, Associate Director Zucker. And I have Musa.
Hi, this is Musa Alu, Ward 19. Is it possible to get a detail of this auditor's report?
Thank you, Musa, and absolutely, through the chair, it is available online. So when I share that presentation, the link that's there that talks about it will link you directly to the report. And we did do a presentation in much more detail to the audit committee. I think it was in December, around December 18th timeframe. So happy to provide that link too, just for information if that helps for people who want a little bit more detail.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions for staff? I have a quick question. I'm going to give the chair over to my other chair. If anyone has any questions after this evening, even in the fall, when things start trickling down and budgets are talked about, and I'm sure there's going to be a really busy summer, what budget is in general for the TDSB and everybody involved, who they direct questions to? Would it be, just so they know who to direct those questions to? I mean, we can collect them at PIAC and send them your way. I don't know which format would be better for you.
I think that that's probably appropriate, just so that they're all coming through the same way. Again, happy to answer as many questions as possible with regards to what happens next for TDSB and how that impacts our budget. And again, with regards to the Auditor General, certainly happy to share the report or let everybody know when it's posted for audit, so that for anybody who's interested, they could listen in as well.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll have questions directed to chairs and we can forward them to you. I have Jag as well.
Hi, this is Jag, Ward 19. You mentioned that there are many recommendations that have been made. Is there any progress on any of them, or is there any timeline to execute on those recommendations? Thank you.
So we are in various stages for the 18 recommendations. And so, like I said, some of them have been completed. A lot of them have been partially completed, and we're sort of in process. And then, as you saw, there are a number that require additional resources, and that was indicated to the Auditor General. So again, great recommendations, happy to increase mental health supports to the level of need. But of course, that involves having an increased budget for those mental health supports. So the Auditor General, although they can put those recommendations out there for us, they cannot make recommendations to the ministry, for example, to increase funding. So the ministry would just have to take to look at the reports, see what the recommendations were, and then they would make any determinations about the funding that they provided. And I will say that the grants were released on May 23rd of this year, and there was no additional funding, for example, for mental health supports. So we have not increased as requested. And we had said that through our response, that until the funding is available, we won't be able to do that. So again, lots of progress happening in different areas. And that report that goes in September will really have a lot of detail about each of the recommendations and what's been done, so that you can see exactly what's happening.
Thank you. Just to make sure that our meeting can move on, I have one more question for you, and that's from Musa, Ward 19.
Hi, thank you. This is Musa Alu, Ward 19 again. One quick question. Is food security anywhere in these talks, in recommendations?
Thank you. And through the chair, unfortunately, that wasn't part of any of their recommendations. What I will say is that through the what's been passed by the city with regards to providing us with significant additional funding in order to with the goal of every school having at least starting with a morning snack and eventually moving to other, I think lunch is next on their list, but obviously that would require either funding from the federal or provincial government. So we are adding, I think, 25 new programs in September, and there will be a phase in September, and then I believe January, and then September 2026, with the intention of ensuring that there is some sort of food program in each of our schools. So I think stay tuned. I think there are important things that are happening there, but the Auditor General report did not talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Associate Director Stacey Zucker, for this presentation. A lot of really great information. I'm looking forward to sort of the next steps and where we can find out more information. You provided some of that. So the Audit Committee is a place we want to actually tune into. And of course, we are welcome to attend those meetings as guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Have a good summer. So now we're moving on to our multi-year strategic plan presentation from Executive Superintendent Diana Panagio. There we go. There we go. Thank you very much from our members who are better at pronunciation. Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just texting her to see if she's available. Could we go to my item and maybe she'll come on in the next few minutes?
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Thanks.
you, Jack. Let's expedite our thing. If she comes, let's go to the staff report.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I have some report on each of the motions that were made that are still outstanding. So wanted to get those to you before the end of this final meeting of the year. But I wanted to start by saying just a huge thanks to all of you on behalf of senior team for your commitment to both parent involvement and the success of our students in all of our 579 schools. We really appreciate the role and support that you play in the system. So I have a number of motions here. I'm going to go in chronological order from the last one that, from the first that, the first one is from, I think it's from January. Parents, caregivers being able to coach school sport teams without teacher involvement where no teacher has expressed interest. Remember that one?
Yes.
Okay. So this is one that has been brought up many times over the years. So I'm going to provide the response verbally, but also provide the written version of what I am about to read to you for the minutes so that they are recorded in the minutes. Okay. So in response to the recommendation, PR 558, the Parent and Community Involvement Procedure, requires that athletic activities with league participation have a staff supervisor. That's noted in section 9 and 9.3. Volunteers are entitled to lead activities without staff supervision for certain other activities as listed in PR 558. So if you want more information in detail, it's in PR 558. Second, liability. TDSB is liable for all activities it undertakes or that it sanctions. This includes student athletics and sports teams. TDSB must exercise reasonable skill and care in carrying out these activities. Where TDSB fails to meet this standard, TDSB may be liable to third parties who are in some way damaged by TDSB's acts or omissions. To minimize liability, TDSB relies on its skilled and trained staff members to carry out their duties in a reasonable and responsible way. TDSB also relies on its ability to control and staff members to ensure that activities are carried out in a responsible manner and that all policies and procedures are adhered to. By contrast, TDSB does not have the same control over volunteers. For example, volunteers may not have undergone training for the abuse and neglect of children. While volunteers may be proficient and understand the athletic activity, they do not understand the breadth of policies and procedures within which TDSB operates. This increases TDSB's overall liability exposure. The concern regarding liability may be better explained as a concern that TDSB policies and procedures must be adhered to in order to promote student well-being. A school setting is unique. High-risk activities, including athletics and sports teams, require a significant degree of care. Students are especially vulnerable during high-risk activities which may occur off school property. So that is the first response to the motion, or the recommendation, sorry. Okay. I see some questions, Madam Chair.
Is it okay to write it down to wait for all the recommendation and then we can ask questions? Just to expedite, is that okay?
Fine with me.
Okay, or is it emergency questionnaire? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Just because of the time, guys, just of the time, just write. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. The second motion was with respect to the policy development process. And the request was that PIAC be involved earlier in the consultation process, earlier than stage 4, okay, of the policy development, phase 4 of the policy development process, along with other external advisory committees. So, and then there was also kind of a companion recommendation to get involved in the development of procedures. Okay. That's just a review of the motion without reading the entire. So the response, under the existing process, PIAC and CACs, Community Advisory Councils, may get engaged into policy reviews prior to phase 4, the consultation phase. The advisory committees are always welcome to provide their thoughts right at the beginning of review process at phase 1, development of a work plan. PIAC may provide their considerations directly to staff or through delegations to the Governance and Policy Committee when work plans are considered. And work plan is the first phase. In their delegation, they can also share their thoughts on implementation, which we call procedure. Operational procedures are within the director's authority. So there actually is a means for PIAC and other CACs to get involved before phase 4 consultation. The next, April 1st, request for review of central student interest programs. Okay. There were a number of recommendations, and I have a rather lengthy description in response to some of the questions. So the response, the policy is being reviewed per the policy review schedule and the policy review work plan approved by the Board of Trustees on February 19th, 2025. As per the approved work plan, the consultation for P100 will include reviews of admissions and application requirements and the setting of priority groups, ensuring alignment with the board's equity policy P037 and the board's commitment to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action, and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It will also include the role merit-based criteria could play in the process while ensuring that barriers to access are not increased. And it will include alignment between central student interest programs and the secondary program review, which focuses on supporting strong local community schools. Interested individuals are encouraged to take part in the consultation process. And as one PIAC member mentioned tonight, Nicole, that will be posted on our consultations webpage when it is open. If you need specific information, please find responses to the questions below.
Curriculum. The question was, has the curriculum remained the same since the lottery, or has it changed, and in what way? Were courses modified or removed after the lottery? Response. All courses must follow the Ontario curriculum. This was the case before Policy 100 and post Policy 100. In addition, international baccalaureate courses must also follow the International Baccalaureate Organization curriculum. Course changes are responsive to student needs and requests and based on staffing. The policy has, in some schools, reduced the number of program courses where students are scheduled separately from the remainder of the school. The more segregated students were, the more students were kept from integrating into the larger school as a whole. Question number, it's 1A. The adequacy and quality of support for students who are struggling with the rigorous nature of the programs. Was extra tutoring support given to students? Response. Schools offered a variety of extra supports outside of class time to students. This included peer tutoring as well as support from teachers. Schools also shifted towards providing true enrichment opportunities and away from acceleration in curriculum delivery, appealing to the intrinsic interest and passion of its students. 1B. What was the comparison of the success rate or dropout rate of students pre-lottery and post-lottery? Data on retention rates would be recommended. Data was not collected prior, response. Data was not collected prior to P100 in terms of the number of students who left programs. Students leave programs for a variety of reasons, including moving out of the city or to another area of the city, wishing to attend school closer to home, or with a peer group, etc. 1C. With the lottery, was the diversity objective met in the student population? Response. After the first year of the central application process for secondary central student interest programs, it is evident that racial proportions have shifted. Of the 4 priority groupings, students' racial identity more closely aligns with TDSB student body, with the biggest shift being with students who identify as Black. In the May 29th, 2024 report to GPC, Appendix C provides a summary overview of the shifts in enrollment after the first year of admission under P100. The complete preliminary analysis can be found in Appendix B. So one more time, that is the report of May 29th, 2024 to GPC. The references are Appendix B and C. And once again, these will be written into the minutes, so you'll have a written record. 1D, were students ever declined a position in the Central Student Interest Program due to their geographical location? Students, response, students who live outside the City of Toronto are lower on the priority list. If spaces were filled by students higher on the priority list and no available seats were available, they were not offered seats. 1E, how was information about the various CSIP programs sent to schools across the TDSB? Central Student Interest response. Central Student Interest programs were promoted on the TDSB website. Direct email communication has been sent in the last 3 years to the parents, guardians, and caregivers and students in grades 3 to 10 before the application opened in late October and closed in late November. An information webinar has been hosted each year as part of the 8 to 9 transition process at the start of November. Social media was also used in November to promote the programs and the application information. The information is always available on the Central Student Interest Programs website. Interest over the past 3 years has been strong. There's a chart with applicant numbers from November 22, November 23, and November 24. In 22, the grade 9 applications were 5,930. In November 23, they were down to 5263, and November 24 up again to 5303. The total applicants, that's all including grade 9s, went from 7121 in November 2022 to 6280 in November 2023 and 6259 in November 2024. In the May 29th report to GPC of 2024, Appendix C provides a summary overview of the shifts in enrollment after the first year of admission under P100. The complete preliminary analysis can be found in Appendix B. 1G, we're almost done, folks. Hang in. What are the success criteria TDSB staff for the lottery and the CSIP? The primary objective, the response. The primary objective of P100 is to affirm the board's commitment to provide strong programming in local schools and to ensure equitable educational access, experiences, and opportunities for all students. Beyond more proportionate representation in programs and access, there is limited data available to evaluate success in terms of the education experience for students in the programs after such a short period. Data connected to post-secondary outcomes will not be available for several years. The work is ongoing. 1H, how many students have requested a waiver of the courses of the programs? Response, we do not track students who request course waivers at this time. Okay, so that is the full response to the CSIP question. I'm going to move on, Madam Chair, to a May 6 recommendation to the Director of Education around the suspension or pausing of school council operations. This was a bit of a repeat of a previous motion, now coming as a recommendation. Response, as you are aware, the matters raised in the recommendations are currently before the courts, with a decision from the divisional court anticipated later this summer. Given the nature of the issues under consideration by the court, the board will not be in a position to respond to or act on these recommendations until the decision has been released and its implications fully reviewed. Okay. Final one. The final one was the messenger motion that we've talked about. So I'm going to just put that one aside. So that is, Madam Chair, a full report on all of the recommendations made. And once again, the written version of these will be available in the minutes of this meeting. Happy to take any questions.
Yep. Thank you very much. Jack, go on.
So
Yes, we have a list.
We have that, yep. We have Nicole, Musa, and then Jeannie.
Yeah, you're on the list. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair, and thank you so much to Jack for this. I feel like this is why I joined PIAC, to hear firsthand of some of the answers the parents are really keen to know. So I think it's a lot of value what you just said, at least to show that you actually hear from us and then come back to some answers. I'm especially happy to know the PIAC as an internal committee can be included in policy development in an early stage, as early as phase 1 is what you're saying. I think that's a very great opportunity. I just want to encourage all PIAC rep to start to pay more attention, just like the website with all the TDSB policy. And we kindly invite, I know Jack, you're busy, but in the beginning of new school year, walk us through the policies that we can collaborate together, maybe a timeline. Let's just not squeeze everything, for example, in September, but then work together in a holistic way. We really encourage this kind of collaboration. As you've seen, obviously, in the budget process, community engagement or community voice can make a huge difference if we actually collaborate, right? You see it in swimming pool, you see it in PIAC, you see it a lot. So we want to do better with PIAC in terms of all these consultations. So as co-leader of consultation, I want to say thank you. And for the CSIP, we appreciate all the solid details. We'll come back to that one by one, and probably we will go into the details, not at this level, but then find a proper way to go through the rest of it together with the be it also a policy, right? So we're gonna be part of the rest of the policy consultation process. But I do want to say thank you, and I see this as the right way of working together so that we can say what can we change for the better for students. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, if I may. There is a schedule of policy development and review on that consultations page. So you can see what's in the queue for next year if you visit that page.
But it's like just one sec. So I have it on hand, but it's just like 4 pages long. We just want to see the timeline wise. Right now, the timeline says 2025, 26. That's it. We want to know a little bit details. Thanks.
Musa, go ahead.
Hi, this is Musa Alu, Ward 19. It's regarding the parent volunteers who want to lead training programs for students in schools. You mentioned that they can have potential or experience or the expertise to train the students, but yes, they need to be vetted, absolutely. But then they do not know the procedures or the process, right? So may I recommend that once in a year, especially beginning of the year, they can be trained in a central location one time, and these invitations could be sent before the school year ends. So any parent who wants to volunteer, right, after completing their background check and all that, right, and the qualifications, they can come maybe summer or start of the school year, attend this 1 day, half day, couple hours session, or maybe you can have it online, right, and then train them. Is that a possibility?
Through you, Madam Chair, for the specific question on sports teams, the answer is no. But there are actual activities in PR 558. Is that the right PR? That on the parent volunteer where that is permitted, but very specific to the sports teams, there is the liability issue that is probably the biggest issue.
Thank you. And we're sure we don't have anyone else on the list?
No.
Okay.
We can mention the policy that we always have.
And we could, yes. So when it comes to policy consultations and policy reviews, we actually, in our co-chair report, we actually always have the link, just so members have that reference as to which policies are up for review. And the page actually talks about, you can actually, on that page, I believe there's a link that talks about the stages of the policy and sort of what phase 1 is and what phase 2 is. Although mind you, if there's additional questions, of course, we always have staff to help us sort of understand that flow chart if we need help with that. But again, it's always on there. We have a little blurb just to remind new members and veteran members in the chair report. The link's always embedded in there as well. So just another place to find it.
I think that's no further question. And thank you, Jack, for the full update of all the motion. Appreciate it. And I think that answered majority of the motions. Some cannot be disclosed due to court situations. And we can go into any other new businesses. You have a question?
Actually, multi-year, do we know if we're okay for
So
that or?
I'm a little concerned because I was texting with Executive Superintendent Panagitopoulos earlier this evening, but she has not joined us.
Oh, no, yeah. So we can probably defer to September maybe meeting and,
It would be rushed if we're ending at 10
Exactly.
o'clock now.
but there's availability for people to read it, the multi-year strategic, correct?
Certainly.
Right. So maybe we can send that out when we send out the.
Actually,
memo.
Lathik, we have that included in the minutes as part of maybe the staff report, just where people can, a link to where the strategic, multi-year strategic plan is and what
Yeah.
those updates might be to what happened this year. For the plan, that'd be awesome, great, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And anybody online, any questions? Hold on, let me hold on this. And yeah, thank you. There's Toronto PIAC Parents Caregiver Policy Consultation. It's also on our website if needs to. Thank you for that. You can check that through. So I think no further. We have any new businesses? Item 11?
Through the chair, Diana said she's now available, which she just needs the link if we want, or we can postpone it till the fall.
It's tight on time because we have a hard 10 o'clock, unfortunately. Can you let her know, unless she's telling us like something that's happening, any new things that coming up? No, an emergency.
Yeah, I think we can postpone this to the fall.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome because we're just tight on that. So appreciate it. And that's about it. I think we pretty much wrapped up. We got in most of the discussion, and thank you for all the PIAC members, PIAC Online. Have a great, safe summer. Zena, you want to add anything to it? We'll see each other in September or August, depending on it. Thank you for everybody who attended.
To echo Sharon, I want to thank all of our visitors tonight, our trustees joining us, our community members. Know that our community members are always welcome to join our working groups because our working groups are where the work gets done. Wishing everybody a safe summer. In our co-chair report, there's actually also a link about mental health and well-being and resources over the summer to help support yourself and your kids over the summer, keeping them busy and healthy and happy and all that fun stuff. So we will see everybody in September.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, guys.